as I was saying, Texas last week, they signed 666 new laws. They signed in 666 new laws. The phrase, first of all, Chris, the phrase new laws makes me cringe. But 666, that's an interesting number. I want to talk, I had an interesting conversation at a political rally 2 weeks ago where a guy walked up to me. He said, I'm a physician. I want to know how you can consider yourself a fiscal conservative and still be against abortion. And I said, now let me clarify what I think you're asking. I think you're saying because people have more babies, it's more expensive for the state, right? And he said, basically, yeah. And I said, well, to me, it's a non-issue because life is more important than money. My personal conviction is that life begins at conception, period, end of story. As soon as the sperm connects with the egg, your DNA, your blueprint for life is etched. It is imprinted, and it will be the same DNA for the rest of your life if you live to be 110 years old. I believe life is life. If we found a bacteria on Mars, we would split that planet in half trying to get to it. But is what it is. Different people have different convictions. And of course, he went on to ask me. I said, I just don't believe that money is more important than life. We protect life. I don't think that you save money by ending lives, right? And of course, one of those bills that was signed into law was, of course, the Texas Heartbeat Bill, which effectively stops clinics from having an abortion or performing an abortion after a heartbeat is detected. Of course, that is usually around 6 weeks. And the guy asked me, he said, do you agree with that? And I said, look, for me personally, I don't even think it goes far enough. I don't think abortion should be a thing. I really don't. And of course, there are going to be people who are going to come at me and they're going to say, keep your hands off. Look, listen, if you keep your hands off of women's bodies, you wouldn't need the abortion in the first place. So you know what I'm saying with that? You don't have a right to anything on women's bodies. Well, right. But the fact that there's so many other things like birth control and condoms and pills and anal, there's a lot of things you could do to prevent pregnancy, or just abstinence. I mean, it's fantastic. All of the things you can do to avoid the one thing, which is abortion. And I know that's me would be my lowbrow humor again. I have to hear that all the time. But these were a couple of tweets. Richard Hanania, I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, said you can't screen for Down syndrome before about 10 weeks, and something like 80% of Down syndrome fetuses are aborted. If red states ban abortion, we could see a world where they have 5 times as many children with Down syndrome and similar numbers for other disabilities. Now, language and cancel culture and the censors will not allow me to say what I want to say in order to unpack this jackass's statement. One, to indicate that a baby with Down syndrome is, quote, unwanted is the height of stupidity and ignorance. And basically, you're making an argument for mentally challenged people to be murdered in the womb so you don't have to deal with them. This is absolutely crazy that you would think this way. Our favorite Alyssa Milano said, nothing says big government more than forcing pregnancy. No one is forcing pregnancy. This is the nonsense we deal with here, forcing pregnancy. I just gave you various options to avoid the forced pregnancy. And again, I know there are people who say, well, what about, you got to go to the extreme examples, right? Always the extreme examples of rape or incest or something like that. Look, that makes up less than 2% of pregnancies that are out there. Issues nonetheless to deal with. But let me just remind you guys that the guilt of murder on top of the ignominy of rape or incest doesn't usually make you feel better. And 2 wrongs don't make a right. But again, that's my opinion. I'll leave that in your hands.